California and Iranian drones. What's really going on? I'm going to break down everything you need to know from California in under 10 minutes. All right, welcome back to the Britt Mayer Show. I'm your host, Britt Mayer, and I am going to present all the facts free of emotion so you can have clarity on what's actually going on with this Iranian drone threat on the West Coast, specifically California. Is this real? Is it not? Where's the ambiguity in all of this? We're going to break down all of the facts, everything you need to know starting now. So let's give you just a little bit of the backstory. The focus is on an FBI bulletin that has raised all the alarms. If you were on social media yesterday, or I don't know, do you still watch TV news? But you would not have missed all the headlines about there's an Iranian threat of drones bombing California. I shared it because everyone was talking about it, so I tried to give some context, but this was all the headlines yesterday, that the West Coast, California, was going to be attacked by Iranian drones because of a verified threat and bulletin that the FBI sent out. Governor Gavin Newsom, he responded to this. Trump responded to this last night. Well, there was a whole curveball this morning. So we're going to detail out what the experts say that residents should actually be aware of regarding potential sleeper cells, especially those linked to all the entries through the southern border, which I personally saw and reported on under the Biden-Kamala administration. A little bit of backstory just to catch us all up to speed. So the U.S.-Iran war Operation Epic Fury is now in its 12th day following joint U.S.-Israeli strikes that started on February 28th on Iranian military sites, cities, and facilities. President Trump is calling Operation Epic Fury a success, noting that the U.S. has, quote-unquote, won, but must, quote-unquote, finish the job. So that's where we're at right now. Now, here's where everything is important about California and these drones and Iran and all that. These concerns stemmed from a late February FBI memo. February, this is pre-strikes, okay? And it was shared via the Los Angeles Joint Regional Intelligence Center. And it warned, quote, we recently acquired information that as of early February 2026, Iran allegedly aspired to conduct a surprise attack using unmanned aerial vehicles from an unidentified vessel off the coast of the United States homeland, specifically against unspecified targets in California. There's a lot of allegeds, unidentified, unspecified. So again, recently acquired information as of early February 2026, Iran allegedly is going to aspire to conduct a surprise attack using unmanned aerial vehicles, drones from unidentified vessels off the coast of the U.S. homeland, specifically against unspecified targets in California, if the U.S. struck Iran. Okay, that is pre-strikes. The key point that I read to you guys twice so you could hear it was that this was unverified and uncorroborated intelligence with no details on timing, real method, real targets, or real actors. Officials are now saying that there's no new credible info that has surfaced, and this all is going to go into what the press secretary had to say about all of this morning. Now, last night, Governor Gavin Newsom stated, and he stated it again today, that there is no imminent threat to California, that the state has activated its operations center early, formed drone work groups, and coordinates constantly with the feds. San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie and LA Mayor, you guys all know Karen Bass, she made herself famous with those fires. They have confirmed no specific credible threats to their cities. Local law enforcement like LA County Sheriff's Department has boosted patrols at sensitive sites cautiously, with some areas issuing extra gear and readiness mandates. Last night, March 11th, President Trump told the White House reporters when asked if he was worried about escalation, including strikes here in California, he said firmly, no, I am not. He went on to talk about how he has his eye on the sleeper cells, and he thinks that we have our eyes on most sleeper cells who are in the United States. But he said that he is not worried about this escalation that could potentially include those threats in this FBI memo. Now we're going to get into this morning. So this morning, March 12th, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt briefed reporters and slammed the ABC News coverage, and she demanded a retraction for spreading quote unquote false information to alarm people. She said, and I quote, "This post and story should be immediately retracted by ABC News for providing false information to intentionally alarm the American people. They wrote this based on one email about a single unverified tip. The email even states the tip was based on unverified intelligence. Yet ABC News left out this critical fact in their story. Why? To be clear, no such threat from Iran to our homeland exists, and it never did." So you can do with that what you want. We have last night President Trump saying that he was aware of said threat. And then you have Caroline Leavitt this morning confirming that and stating that no such threat exists to California, that this whole report was unverified and ABC pushed it out as verified. This is scary. Find your shelter because the drones are coming to the West Coast. California, be ready. All of this backs what the federal government is pushing out, that this is speculative pre-war intel. It is not credible today, that DHS and FBI keep counterterrorism on high alert, encouraging suspicious activity reports without panic. So what does this mean for us here in California and wherever you are in America? What should we be prepared for? What should we do with all of this information and all of the background? Should we be really afraid that Iran is somehow going to mount this huge drone attack on our San Diego beaches in California? Is that legitimate? Is that something we should really worry about? Or should we actually be concerned about other factors that are at play? Let's talk about the sleeper cells. So the sleeper cells are those who potentially entered through the San Diego, California border under the Biden-Kamala administration. Experts have highlighted that created massive border vulnerabilities. Border Patrol apprehended 1,504 Iranian nationals from year 2021 to 2024. That was a 25-fold increase from prior decades. This is all under the Biden-Kamala administration. Nearly half of those were released into the U.S., often with limited vetting due to what we know was a completely overwhelmed system. Thousands more of documented illegal entries plus gotaways came in through our southern border. And a quote from the former CBP Commissioner Rodney Scott in a memo said, "Thousands of Iranian nationals have been documented entering the United States illegally, and countless more were likely in the known and unknown gotaways." Now, specific concerns in the San Diego sector, which is what I covered during the Biden-Kamala administration, and I personally witnessed because I was there at the pickup and drop sites, was that San Diego saw very sharp rises in special interest aliens. Those are SIAs. Those are individuals with terrorism ties. They jumped from 10 to 15 per year pre-Biden to over 100 in 2022 and far more in 2023 and beyond. And again, that doesn't even include the Ponga boats that were coming in. If you were following me during that time, you know that we had citizen journalists reporting on the Ponga boats that were coming in, and you'd have a lot of people jump off these boats to waiting black SUVs, and they would jump in these SUVs, and then they were gone. They just turned into illegal ghost foreigners that would go wherever they were planning to go. It was definitely highly coordinated, including bonfire locations where they would come into those bonfire locations, drop their boat, run into SUVs that were waiting. A retired San Diego Border Patrol chief who I interviewed, Aaron Heike, testified that he was ordered not to publicize SIA arrests. One of the quotes from Aaron Heike that I want to highlight is that he said, quote, "I was instructed by the Biden administration to not publicize arrests of border crossers with ties to terrorism. At the time, I was told I could not release any information on this increase in SIAs or mention any of the threats. The administration was trying to convince the public that there was no threat at the border." So, as of now, we do know that there are expert warnings of potential sleeper cells. We've heard of these warnings from former DHS deputy assistant secretaries, former FBI assistants. We've heard it from Mark Rubin. Essentially, what they're saying is that the Iranian regime has for many years attempted to establish capabilities and networks in the United States that are able to carry out such operations, which would be, a threat of terrorism here in our homeland because of embedded sleeper cells. I even pulled up Charlie Kirk this morning just to see what he was saying. Back to 2023, he was saying, "We have no idea who is in our country. Just a matter of time before a sleeper cell is activated. Buy guns, protect your family and those closest to you." Again in 2025, he said, "Stay armed and stay vigilant. We have no idea how many sleeper cells are inside the United States. It's an unforgivable weakness Biden left this country with. Stay alert." And then lastly, June 13th, 2025, Charlie said, "Keep your head on a swivel. Biden let millions of people into America. Iran might activate some sleeper cells against Americans. Stay armed." So, with all of that, these points underscore border related vulnerabilities, which I think are a legitimate concern. And so do the experts. That's not me saying that. That's from the experts who are living and breathing this every day and have been for years. And with what I personally saw on the border, we definitely did have incredible vulnerabilities under the Biden-Kamala administration that are still with us today with all of this. So in summary, the unverified tip in February led to precautions, but President Trump is, as of last night, saying he is not worried about these threats of drones in California on the West Coast. And then Press Secretary Leavitt's retraction demand this morning is essentially affirming this messaging to the American people that there is no real homeland threat that exists. My advice would be to stay vigilant, keep your head on a swivel, like what Charlie was saying. But as far as this actual threat of drones coming to San Diego and San Clemente and up the coast in California, it sounds like that was based on an unverified tip that was run as an actual threat, and the timeline just doesn't seem to sync up. That is the true fleshed out where we are at point on the threat of the Iranian drones headed to California on the West Coast, especially in light of all the headlines that ran yesterday. I think it's really important to add context to the headlines. So that is where we're at. Let me know what you think below. And please, if you found this valuable, please like, subscribe, and share the Britt Mayer Show. We put out little breakdowns like this, and we also do long form interviews that our aim is just to cut through the noise and give you the facts and what you actually need to know. We'll see you again soon.